Been a while. Happy New Year to a lot of you. You know I like my reports, right? You know I like my reports. McPherson, Scott, Chakrabarti, and now we have the Sue Gray. Sue Gray. So let's go through the Sue Gray report, shall we? Because like basically there's massive bits that people are just, I don't know if they're willingly overlooking it. But yeah, I discovered one or two things that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable and sick to my stomach. I'm wondering, I don't know whether or not you might come to the same conclusion, but in order for you to understand where I'm coming from, we're gonna need to go through the Sue Gray report. Oh dear, am I peeking there? I think I peeked a little bit. So let's go into the investigation into alleged gatherings on government premises during COVID restrictions. Okay, and for a start, they're not alleged. Okay, do me a favor. Don't forget to hit the subscribe for more content. No, I don't do YouTube, man. I don't do YouTube videos, so like allow all that crazy, like corny stuff. But anyways, yeah, do me a favor, hit the subscribe so you know when I do more stuff, because actually I do a lot more stuff on Twitch at the moment. So I'm catching film on Twitch. I'm like pretty much always live on Twitch, and I do a political hour during midday. So if you want to catch that, catch a film on Twitch. Anyway, investigation into alleged gatherings on government premises during COVID restrictions. Update. And the reason why it's an update, as many of you know by now, is because there's now a police investigation into this report, okay, or the alleged gatherings. There's a police investigation into alleged gatherings because all of a sudden Cressida Dick has now decided, she's done a bit of a U-turn and decided to investigate these gatherings after previously stating on record that she would not be investigating any parties at number 10. And so before we even start, that's like us knowing that there's a burglary going on and then telling the police, and the police going, no, we don't think anything's going on there. Then I like hire my own private security who catches a burglar in the act. Then the police turn around and go, oh yeah, actually, oh no, we'll take it from here. We'll take it from here. Yeah, oh, we'll take it. We'll take him into custody. Now, that was obviously, you know what that would mean in any other circumstance. But the corruption of the British police force at the moment under Cressida Dick it's legendary. Remember, Cressida Dick nearly lost her job because it was one of her officers that was responsible for the death of Sarah Everard, remember? And prior to that, she also made it clear that she would not be researching historic allegations of child sex offences at Westminster. Do you remember that? Now, she's been handed the hot potato of the Sue Gray investigation. So we have all the faith in the world in the police investigation, right? Let's dive in. Investigations of the alleged gatherings. Oh boy, you're going to find this very interesting reading. It's not that long, actually, considering when I did the Chakrabarti report, I had to break that down into like 2 bits of video. I think this will only be like 1. Anyway, let's get it. Right, investigation into alleged gatherings on government premises during COVID restrictions. Update. On the 8th of December 2021, the Prime Minister asked the Cabinet Secretary to carry out an investigation into allegations reported into the media relating to gatherings in number 10 Downing Street and the Department of Education during November and December 2020. On the 8th of December 2021, the Prime Minister asked the Cabinet Secretary, very important, right? Who? The Cabinet Secretary, okay? Who was the Cabinet Secretary at the time? So, Simon Case was the Cabinet Secretary. Part 2. On the 17th of December 2021, the Cabinet Secretary recused himself from the investigations as a result of allegations concerning an online quiz held by his private office in the Cabinet Office on the 17th of December 2020 in 70 Whitehall. It was at this point that I was asked to lead this work. So, number 1, the Prime Minister asked the Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Case, to carry out the investigations into these number 10 parties, and Mr. Case had to say, sorry mate, I can't actually do this investigation because like I've had 1 or 2 parties myself. The guy that Boris Johnson asked to investigate the parties first also had parties at 70 Whitehall and at number 10 Downing Street, and was involved in parties at number 10 Downing Street. So how objective do you think that would have gone if Boris had got his way initially? The man, having enough integrity, decided to recuse himself from the proceedings, seeing as he actually had an online quiz in his private office on the 17th of December. It was at that point I was asked to lead this work, says Sue Gray. Let's go into it. Number 3, the terms of reference for the investigation were published on the 9th of December 2021, Annex A, that's at the bottom. The primary purpose of the investigation was to establish a general understanding of the nature of the gatherings, including attendance, the setting and purpose, with reference to adherence to the guidance in place at the time. So, did these things happen? Where did they happen? And what were the rules at the time? Should they have happened? That's what we're going to investigate. Number 4, where there were credible allegations relating to other gatherings, these could also be investigated. You know, I heard there was a party over there. Really? Okay, well, we're going to look into that. When they hear about other ones, they're going to look into them. Okay, so number 5, all right? In line with those terms of reference, the following events were in scope. Okay, on the 15th of May 2020, a very important day. It's the first one that's mentioned. This is English par excellence, right? You have to read between the lines. There are inferences all throughout this. What did we start with? We started with the fact that Boris Johnson had asked the Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Case, to carry out the investigation. Mr. Case recused himself because he too had had parties. But that was the person that Boris Johnson first wanted to investigate. Remember, 70 Whitehall, Cabinet Office. Keep that in your mind. She goes on to give us the first date, the 15th of May 2020, a photograph showing a number of groups. All the words are important here. A number of groups in the garden of number 10 Downing Street. Groups. That term group is a bit ambiguous, isn't it? Groups. Why is it ambiguous? Because she goes on to be very meticulous in detailing whom were seen where from that point on. The 20th of May 2020, a gathering in the garden of number 10 Downing Street for number 10 staff. On the 18th of June 2020, a gathering in the Cabinet Office, number 70 Whitehall, on the departure of a number 10 private secretary. Hold on a second. Number 70 Whitehall, isn't that where Mr. Case works? The guy that Boris initially asked to conduct the investigation. Oh, it turns out that they had a kind of a leaving party on the 18th of June, as well as the Christmas quiz. Let's carry on. On the 19th of June 2020, a gathering in the Cabinet Room in number 10 Downing Street on the Prime Minister's birthday. Was the Prime Minister's policy on cake? He's pro having it and pro eating it. That's what we know, right? Then we go on to a very important date on the 13th of November 2020, a gathering in the number 10 Downing Street flat. A gathering in number 10 Downing Street on the departure of a special advisor. So, 2 events on the 13th of November. A gathering in the number 10 Downing Street flat, and B, a gathering in number 10 Downing Street on the departure of a special advisor. The 30th of November. Do you know what day that was? That was Friday the 13th of November. Ooh, so what was who lost their job on Friday the 13th of November? That would be none other than Dominic Cummings. What have we got here? Well, look what we got here. Oh, sorry. Let's do that back a bit. Yeah, there you go. Friday the 13th of November, 2020. Boris Johnson boots out top advisor Dominic Cummings. A raucous party going on upstairs at Boris Johnson's flat with ABBA. An ABBA-themed raucous party going on in Boris Johnson's flat. Notably, the tune Winner Takes It All being played repeatedly. That was going on upstairs. Downstairs, bye Dominic, bye. Upstairs, fuck off Dominic, a winner takes it all. The loser. So, parties, what was going on there? Oh, it was this place was coming like a ghost town. Yeah? At the time, 13th of November 2020, all the clubs had been closed down. Remember? Right? So, anyways, let's get back to the report. 13th of November, very important date. Gathering in number 10 Downing Street flat, right? Friday the 13th, Dominic Cummings got booted, right? So there were 2 parties on that day, one upstairs, one downstairs. Remember, 13th of November, because let's call the 13th of November the Prime Minister's party. All right. Although there was the birthday party. Remember the birthday party on the 19th of June? Right? The next one on the 13th of November, that was a party. That was Dominic Cummings. That was a big one, remember? Let's carry on. The 27th of November, a gathering in number 10 Downing Street on the departure of a special advisor. Remember, Sue Gray's telling you whom. Remember the term groups? Ambiguous? Groups. Special advisor. Minister. Special advisor. On the 10th of December 2020, a gathering in the Department for Education ahead of the Christmas break. 15th of December 2020, a gathering in number 10 Downing Street for an online Christmas quiz. That was on the 15th. Oh, the 17th of December. Now, where did I see that date mentioned before? Oh, yeah, right up at the top. Isn't that 17th of December? Wasn't that the reason why Sue Gray came on in the first place? Because there was a party alleged to have happened on the 17th of December. Where again? A gathering at Cabinet Office number 70 Whitehall to hold an online Christmas quiz for the Cabinet Secretary's private office. So staff at the Cabinet Secretary's office were on an online quiz, or a quiz. Where? The Cabinet Office, number 70 Whitehall. Oh, staff, right? Christmas quiz, right? We know that because Mr. Case set it all up, right? The guy that Boris initially asked to do the investigation, right? Here's his party now finally mentioned. Where is this all? Number 70 Whitehall, the Cabinet Office. Okay, bear that in mind. You've got to bear a lot of things in mind. Oh, there were 3 parties on that day. A gathering in Cabinet Office, 70 Whitehall, on the departure of a senior cabinet official. Cabinet official, meticulously fastidious in mentioning every responsibility and role. Remember, groups. Who were the groups seen in the garden? They weren't staff, they weren't officials, but groups were seen in the number 10 garden. Groups of who? On the 18th of December 2020, a gathering in number 10 Downing Street ahead of the Christmas break. On the 14th of January 2021, a gathering in number 10 Downing Street on the departure of 2 number 10 private secretaries. Again, Sue Gray being meticulous in whom, when, where. On the 16th of April 2021, a gathering in number 10 Downing Street on the departure of a senior number 10 official. A gathering in number 10 Downing Street on the departure of another number 10 official. Methodology, right? There's been widespread public interest in and concern about a number of gatherings taking place in number 10 Downing Street and Whitehall during periods of national COVID restrictions, where their necessity for work purposes has been open to question. My task has been to establish as far as possible the facts surrounding these gatherings. Okay, right. In number 7, in carrying out my investigation, I've been supported by a small team of senior civil servants in the Cabinet Office. Sorry, where? From where? From where? The Cabinet Office. But didn't they have, who have no connection with the events under examination and who are bound by the requirements of the Civil Service Code. So wait a minute. Sue Gray is being helped by a small team of senior civil servants in the Cabinet Office from number 70 Whitehall, the same place that held the Christmas quiz. Now, you have to believe her here. Civil servants in the Cabinet Office who have no connection with the events under examination and who are bound by the requirements of the Civil Service Code. So apparently the guys helping her didn't attend any of those parties. That's what she's just said. But she said they have no connection to the parties. We have to believe that. And also they're bound by the requirements of the Civil Service Code. Would you know who else was bound by the requirements of the Civil Service Code? Do you know who else was bound by the requirements of the Civil Service Code? The Cabinet Secretary, Simon Case. I believe he was too. Okay? So that really doesn't mean anything to me in terms of legitimacy for me in my brain. That doesn't mean anything. But anyway, let's go on. This sounds corrupt already. We carried out interviews of over 70 individuals, some more than once, and examined relevant documentary and digital information, such as emails, WhatsApp messages, text messages, photographs, and building entry and exit logs. And this is the killer one, because if you know number 10 Downing Street, it's a cul-de-sac. There's only one way in and one way out. Now, in the 80s, when my gran came to England, my dad took us down Whitehall, and we actually walked down Downing Street. That was in the days before they fenced it off, but since the IRA attacked and everything, now the end of the road is fenced off, so the only way in and out is via security check-in. Everyone's got a fob. Anyone who's ever worked in a secure environment now knows that there's a digital record of you signing in and signing out, what time you signed out, which doors you signed out of on the way out, right? We're not stupid. Well, some of us have worked in the 20th century. So there's no way that you're going to get a load of people in and out without it being logged. So I'm interested to know who the groups were that were seen in the garden, because they would have had to have been logged in and logged out. There's no way in or out of number 10 otherwise. This has also included searches of official records. As such, extensive, substantial, factual information is now available and has been compiled by me and my team to fulfill my obligation to establish the facts. The investigative work is now essentially complete. So she says there's extensive, substantive, and factual information. It's not sounding good. The Treasury Solicitor, and this is important, number 8, the Treasury Solicitor and Daniel Stilts QC have provided independent advice as to the process. So this is not Sue Gray acting as a lone favour rogue element for Boris. She's got the Treasury Solicitor and Daniel Stilts QC. I mean, I don't know if that's one and the same person. The Treasury Solicitor and Daniel Stilts QC have provided. Is that the same guy? I don't know if the Treasury Solicitor is Daniel Stilts QC. But either way, she's had Queen's Counsel advise on legal proceedings, so there's no way that she's going to be kicking anything under the carpet, sweeping anything under the carpet, kicking anything into touch. No. If she's been handed a hot potato and it reaches the threshold for criminality, she's going to have to hand it over to the Popo. But that would be the Popo that said they weren't going to be investigating parties. Oh, but Cressida Dick now has said, oh, hold on, no, I'm going to be investigating the parties now. So Sue Gray at this point is following legal counsel. Okay, something a little bit more to cling on to for faith. Okay, number 9. Right? It is not for me to make a judgment on whether the criminal law has been broken. That is properly a matter for law enforcement. Interesting, even though you've just been advised by a Queen's Counsel who's an expert in law. I mean, I think he'd know whether or not the law is broken or not, but it's not for her to make a judgment on whether the criminal law has been broken. Okay? That's properly a matter for law enforcement. In line with my terms of reference, I have been in regular contact with the Metropolitan Police as my work has progressed in order for them to take decisions on the gatherings under examination, including whether to launch their own investigations, and we know that they have. Right. Number 10, the Metropolitan Police has now confirmed that as a result of information provided by the Cabinet Office investigation team, as well as assessments made by Metropolitan Police officers, they are investigating the events on the dates set out above, with the exception of the gatherings on the 15th of May, the 27th of November, the 10th of December, and the 15th of December. In short, all of those dates that we mentioned above, they're all going to be investigated. But these 4 dates, Cressida Dick said, no, we're not investigating those. No, don't worry about this. Bing, 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 bing. Can we wave a red flag? Because I'm going to wave a red flag. So please, someone wave a red flag. So but this is interesting because look, the 15th of May, the 27th of November, the 10th of December, and the 15th of December, right? They're not going to be investigated. Listen to 11. The police have confirmed that on the basis of the information available, the gatherings on these 4 dates are not considered to have reached the threshold for investigation. Not these 4 dates. They haven't. The others have. These 4 haven't. Okay, well, if these 4 haven't and the others have, surely the party in Boris Johnson's flat, that's got to be here, surely. When was that? Wasn't that Friday the 13th? Wasn't that Friday the 13th of November? Yeah, the 2 parties. Friday the 13th of November. Surely that we should see Friday the 13th of... Oh, so I'm not... Sorry, the ones that are not being investigated, I'm not seeing Friday the 13th there. Which, are you saying that stuff happened at... the two parties on Friday the 13th that was criminal, that did reach the threshold for criminal investigation? Because these are the four that didn't. Okay, so that means that Boris Johnson's party in his flat, stuff was going on that reached the threshold for criminal investigation, 13th of November. And another, I mean, there are other dates as well. The 17th of December. Surely the 17th of December, you know, the quiz that went down in Simon Case's cabinet secretary's office. You know that quiz, the three parties, right, that happened on that day. There was a party at number 10 as well. But the two parties that happened at number 70, surely on the 17th of December, Simon Case's one on the 17th of December, surely that one should be there for... I don't see the 17th of December there as one of the ones that didn't reach the threshold for criminal investigation. Are you telling me that on the 17th of December, the party that went down at the cabinet's office, shit went down that reached the threshold of criminal investigation? Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. But these four didn't. Now, I already immediately red flagged. These four didn't, but the others did. What, Friday the 13th, the Dominic Cummings getting kicked out. That was there. 17th of December. Sorry, Dominic Cummings getting kicked out. That's not there. 17th of December. That's not there. So that means criminal stuff went down at those parties. But these four, the police are saying nothing went down. Let's read number 12. No conclusion should be drawn or inferences made from this other than it is now for the police to consider the relevant material in relation to those incidents. Excuse me. The police have also said this does not in itself mean that they will decide to take further action or that there has necessarily been a breach of the regulations. So apparently they know more stuff about these 4 days. There's more stuff they know about these 4 days. Stuff doesn't mean they're going to take further action. But they know more stuff about those 4 days. And it doesn't necessarily mean there's been a breach of regulation. Okay. Those 4 dates are starting to be a bit fishy to me. Let's carry on. 13. At the request of the police, I provided the material compiled in the course of my investigation relevant to the gatherings that they are now investigating. I have also been asked to retain all other information collected in the course of this work, which I have confirmed that I will do. I will therefore ensure the secure storage and safekeeping of all of the information gathered until such time as it may be required further. Holy shit! I will not be circulating the information internally within government. It has been provided in confidence to the Cabinet Office investigation team, and it is important that this confidence is maintained to protect the integrity of the process. She's sitting on some bombs. She's sitting on something incredible. She's sitting on something major, and she's going to keep it under lock for safety in a storage. What the hell are you sitting on, Sue? Let's go to number 14. As a result of the Metropolitan Police's investigations, and so as not to prejudice the police investigative process, they have told me that it would only be appropriate to make minimal reference to the gatherings on the dates they are investigating, right? The 13 above, 14, 15, 16, the other 13 other dates above. Unfortunately, this necessarily means that I am extremely limited in what I can say about those events, and it is not possible at present to provide a meaningful report setting out and analyze the extensive factual information I have been able to gather. Oh shit, I've had my hands, I can't say shit. There's a ton of things to say, but I can't say anything because now the police are sitting on top of it, and they're not allowed to, they've told me that they're investigating the other 13 incidents, and I can't talk about those other 13 incidents. I'm not allowed to talk about those 13 incidents because they're investigating it. Holy shit, Sue. But she's got everything under lock and key for safekeeping for if and when that information is required. Holy shit, Sue. What have you got, man? What the hell have you got? But listen to number 15. Listen to this. In respect of the gatherings that the Metropolitan Police have, in respect of the gatherings that the Metropolitan Police had assessed as not reaching the threshold for criminal investigation, you know, there's 4 dates. they have not requested any limitations be placed on the description of those events, i.e., I can say whatever I like about those 4 events, the ones mentioned, those 4 events, the ones that they're not going to investigate. Police have said there's no limitation placed on the description. I can tell you as much as I like about what happened on those dates. However, what do you mean, however, Sue? I have decided not to publish factual accounts in relation to those 4 dates. Why, Sue? But the police just said you can say as much as you like about those 4 dates, Sue. Why are you personally deciding not to mention anything about those 4 dates, Sue? Why? Because Sue says, I do not feel that I am able to do so without detriment to the overall balance of the findings. What, Sue? What, Sue? What? I do not feel I'm able to do so without detriment to the overall balance of the findings. So, however they explain away the other 13 parties, what Sue knows about the 4 dates that the police aren't investigating is of such monumental significance, importance, and gravitas that it would just unbalance any fair assessment of the other 13 parties that have reached the criminal threshold for investigation. Holy fuck! Am I the only one who's understanding what the fuck's going on here? All right, let me carry on. Number 16. More generally, I consider whether it would be better to pause as provided for in terms of reference and wait until the conclusion of the police investigation before publishing anything. However, given the widespread public interest in and concern about these matters, and to avoid further delay, I am providing an update on the investigation and I am setting out some general findings now. I have not made comment on whether individual gatherings were in line with the relevant guidance and regulations in place at the time. I did not judge it appropriate to do so given the police investigation that is now underway. So she's kind of even pulled back about giving her own judgments because so much stuff has reached the threshold for criminal investigation. You know what she's barring out? She's the hot potato. She go and she's thrown it over to Cressida Dick. Now, Cressida Dick can't come back with any bullshit because the only reason Cressida Dick is involved in this is because it's reached reached the threshold for criminal. She can't come back and throw and rubbish this off. The only reason her arse is involved in this is because it's reached the threshold for criminal investigation as advised by Queen's Counsel to Sue Gray. Do you understand? So there's no way Cressida Dick can mothball this, right? So let's go into Sue Gray's context. The outbreak and spread of SARS-CoV-19 represented a global health crisis without parallel in living memory. In the United Kingdom, it has a seismic impact on every aspect of life in the country. In response to help control the spread of the virus and to keep the most vulnerable safe, the UK government put in place far-reaching restrictions on citizens that had a direct and material impact on their lives, livelihood, and liberties. This is true. Number 18, from the 26th of March 2020, the law in England required everyone to remain in their homes unless certain very limited exceptions applied, right? Restrictions were temporarily eased over the summer period in 2020 until most remaining national restrictions were removed on the 4th of July 2020. Restrictions were then reintroduced in gradations in the autumn, culminating in the UK government announcing from the 5th of November 2020 restrictions on movements and gatherings in England, essentially requiring people to stay at home. Restrictions on gatherings of 2 or more people applied in London through December 2020 and the first months of 2021. Indoor mixing of 2 or more households was not permitted again until the 17th of May 2021. The chronology of the main changes is at Annex B, that's below. right? Number 20, in line with those rules, the vast majority of staff and government departments work from home. The civil service, along with the rest of the public sector, went to great lengths to reconfigure the provision and delivery of public services and support for businesses almost overnight. Many private sector businesses and other organizations, large and small, all over the UK, were also working hard to deal with the pandemic, both in terms of managing their businesses, their livelihoods, and those of their employees, as well as providing vital support to the national effort to respond to the virus. Number 20. A small number of government officials and special advisors, because of the nature of their jobs directly supporting the Prime Minister and other ministers, continue to attend their offices for the purposes of work, as permitted by exemption under the regulations. Right? In particular, number 10 Downing Street and the Cabinet Office were at the centre of the government's response to the pandemic. Tight-knit groups of officials and advisors worked long hours under difficult conditions in buildings that could not be easily adapted as COVID-secure workplaces. Number 10 Downing Street and the Cabinet Office in number 70 Whitehall are closely interconnected. Oh, don't we know how, right? With staff moving regularly between the two buildings as part of their daily work. The Prime Minister's flat and the Downing Street garden are in close proximity to the offices and serve a dual office and private purpose. Number 22. Those challenges, however, also apply to key frontline workers across the country who are working under equally, if not more, demanding conditions, often to risk to their own health. It is important to remember the stringency of the public health regulations in force in England over the relevant periods, and that criminal sanctions were applied to many found to be in breach of them. Yep, do you remember Preeti Patel coming out saying we're going to triple the fines? Do you remember that, right? The hardship under which citizens across the country worked, lived, and sadly even died while observing the government's regulations and guidance rigorously are known only too well, and we've been hearing about so many of those. Number 23. Every citizen has been impacted by the pandemic. Everyone has made personal sacrifices, some of the most profound having been unable to see loved ones in their last moments or care for vulnerable family members and friends. It is with that context in mind that I will make the following general limited findings. Here are Sue Gray's findings. General findings. Against the backdrop of the pandemic, when the government was asking citizens to accept far-reaching restrictions on their lives, some of the behaviour surrounding these gatherings is difficult to justify. The broken swing. Okay, the broken swing in the garden. Cocaine off the cabinet table. At least some of the gatherings in question represent a serious failure to observe not just the high standards expected of those working at the heart of government, but also the standards expected of the entire British population at the time. If you ask me, that's coded way of saying they were doing drugs up in there, man. There was class A's up in there. And if you ask me, we know how posh Tories get down, or do we? Do you know how posh Tories get down? Do you know how they party? I mean, obviously there was going to be coke there. The booze thing going to co-op, the suitcases full of booze, right? But you know there was coke at those parties. Give me a break. That's why we're talking about the standards expected of the entire British population at the time, right? So they were doing some out-of-pocket debauched stuff, right? The mind boggles. But wait, there is more. At times it seems there was too little thought given to what was happening across the country in considering the appropriateness of some of these gatherings, right? The risks they presented to public health and how they might appear to the public, okay? There were failures of leadership and judgment by different parts of Number 10 and the Cabinet Office at different times. Some of these events should not have been allowed to take place. Other events should not have been allowed to develop as they did. Now, that's someone who spent 20 years working in a British institution. That means, so, you know, people getting off from people left, right, and centre. Yeah, sex went down. Yeah, people were getting banged in the office. I mean, that's certainly what's happened in a school that I previously used to work at. It was very much like this. I mean, it's probably like this right now. I mean, they're living high off the hog right now. This is what you're seeing is a blueprint to how many other institutionally biased institutions are operating right now. This is a window into how the British system's working for most people right now. let's get on to point 4. The excessive consumption of alcohol is not, what did I say about this place I used to work? The excessive consumption of alcohol is not appropriate in a professional workplace at any time. Steps must be taken to ensure that every government department has a clear and robust policy in place covering the consumption of alcohol in the workplace. I know a little bit about that. Bloody hell, right? The use of the garden at number 10 Downing Street should be primarily for the Prime Minister and the private residents of number 10 and number 11 Downing Street. During the pandemic, it was often used as an extension of the workplace as a more COVID-secure means of holding group meetings in a ventilated space. This was a sensible measure that staff appreciated, but the garden was also used for gatherings without clear authorization or oversight. This was not appropriate. Any official access to the space, including for meetings, should be by invitation only. Remember, there were groups in the garden. Well, it should be by invitation only and in a controlled environment. I remind you of the term groups earlier. Some staff wanted to raise concerns about behaviors they witnessed at work, right? But at times felt unable to do so. Well, it costs you your job, okay? When you report on dirty pedophiles at work, it costs you your job. No member of staff should feel unable to report or challenge poor conduct where they witness it. I'm so stealing this. There should be easier ways for staff to raise concerns informally outside of the line of management chain. I'm so stealing this for my case that is ongoing. Oh, sorry. The number of staff working in number 10 Downing Street has steadily increased in recent years. In terms of size, scale and range of responsibility, it is now more akin to a small government department than purely a dedicated Prime Minister's office. The structures that support the smooth operation of Downing Street, however, have not evolved sufficiently to meet the demands of this expansion. The leadership structures are fragmented and complicated, and this has sometimes led to the blurring of lines of accountability. Well, I don't know. Really, I have no idea. Too much responsibility and expectation is placed on the senior official whose principal function is the direct support of the Prime Minister. Simon Case, the Cabinet Secretary. Ooh, lay on, Sue, lay at the feet. This should be addressed as a matter of priority. Conclusion. The gatherings within the scope of this investigation are spread over a 20-month period, a period that has been unique in recent times in terms of the complexity and breadth of the demands of the public servants and indeed the general public. The whole of the country rose to the challenge. Ministers, special advisors and the civil service, of which I am proud to be a part, were a key and dedicated part of that national effort. However, as I have noted, a number of these gatherings should not have been allowed to take place or to develop in the way that they did. Oh boy, you know what that means, develop in the way that they did. It got out of hand. People were getting banged over coffee tables and photocopiers and shit. There is significant learning to be drawn from these events which must be addressed immediately across government. This does not need to wait for the police investigations to be concluded. Holy moly. Anyway, we got A and B annexes. B annexes is the timeline of regulations, so you can always double check when a certain incident happened compared to what the law of the land was at the time, because, you know, as it was moving quite a bit, the restrictions that were being implemented, then restricted, then implemented again. So you can cross-section that. But then I take you back to these 4 dates just to round up. That was the Sue Gray report. You know, if this was the Chakrabarti report, I'd only be about a third of the way through it by now. I'd be like, right, I'm going to break, so go and use the toilet, get myself something to drink, and when I make myself a pot noodle, and I'll be back with part 2 of this 5-part serialization on the Chakrabarti report. Right, no, I'm done. That was it. But I take you back to these 4 dates, right? Let me take you back to these 4 dates. How long have we been on? 43 minutes. Less than an hour. There you go, less than an hour. Boy, that would have been like, Chakrabarti report was like a 5-hour thing, man. Right, anyway, go back to these 4 dates. The 15th of May, the 27th of November, the 10th of December, and the 15th of December. These 4 dates are dates that the police have said that they're not going to investigate. I don't have much faith in that. Simon Case, this is the man, the Cabinet Secretary, who was initially asked to conduct the investigation into the parties, who recused himself because he too had had a couple of parties, several parties, from his offices at Whitehall. We learned that the investigative team helping Sue Gray come from the Cabinet Office at Whitehall, the very same Cabinet Office that held the Christmas quiz and the leaving dues and blah, blah, blah. But she assures us that none of the people helping her on the team were present at any of those parties, and that they're bound by Civil Service Code. But this guy was bound by Civil Service Code, and he held the parties. So that's where that's where I pull a little rung out from under, like, whatever, credibility the Sue Gray report has. I'm pulling that out there, right? So, but remember, number 70, right? Whitehall, right? Boris Johnson. Remember, now, Boris Johnson refuses to comment on fresh reports detailing lockdown parties. Remember, like, we just watched Prime Minister's Questions, where they asked Boris Johnson whether or not he was even in his own flat on Friday the 13th of November. And he said, you have to wait for the result of the Sue Gray report, even though we now know that it was an ABBA-themed party blasting out Winner Takes It All as Dominic Cummings left. I'm surprised they weren't leaning out the window, giving him, like, the finger as he left, right? So, bang to Bumper Clark rights, right? No doubt, right? 100%, right? Remember, this was a shout out to YB, right? This is Friday the 13th, right? And the PM may have attended as many as 6 events in the timeline being probed by the police, right? Listen, this is the party leader for real. Party leader. I almost feel like I've got some calypso song coming on about how he's the party leader. Jump up, jump up. Boris gonna jump up, jump up. Do you know what I mean? Like he's the party leader, right? Boris was into the thick of it. Yeah, Boris was in the thick of it. He attended as many as 6 of those private parties, right? He likes a private party, right? But how do the Tories get down? How do the Tories get down? Now, there's I was on, it wasn't Tisky Sour, I can't remember media. We've been hearing all the reports, like, as it's come on top of Boris, the government whips were blackmailing Tory MPs to fall in line, this Operation Save Big Dog, to try and save Boris Johnson's job. All of a sudden, Tory whips came into the news again, and it jogged my memory of an interview I saw with Tim Fortescue, right, who was Conservative whip between 1970 to 1973. I saw this 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I saw this, and it hit me at the time when I saw it. It's also recently been brought back by, I think it was Nova Media, or was it Tisky Sour? Right, and they brought back the interview with Tim Fortescue, where he pretty much outlines how the Tories get down in terms of cajoling their members to vote certain ways, and the responsibility of the chief whip, and what actually goes into the little black books on people so they can. Now, I'm leading to something here, because I want you to know, like, how I know. Remember, I've sat through the Tory debacle under Thatcher and then under Major. Right, I know how they get down. Right, and these 4 dates that the police that Cressida Dick's not going to investigate, they don't sit well with me. I'm quite open to, brushing off the fact that Boris was probably doing lines of coke off the cabinet table, shagging 1 or 2 people on the photocopier. People were getting banged. I know there was a sex thing going on the swing, and that broke the kids' swing. Look, man, all the heterosexual stuff, mate, have at it. Yeah, knock yourselves out. But you and I both know that's not how they get down. So those 4 dates that Cressida Dick said she won't be investigating, that's red flag, because remember, Cressida Dick, before she got into trouble about the Sarah Everard thing, already stated that she wouldn't be investigating historical allegations into child sex offences at Westminster. Remember, let me play you this interview with Tim Fortescue, just so you know how they get down, because if you don't know how they get down, you're going to be wondering what I'm talking about.
What was the purpose of putting that sort of thing in the Black Book?
So that we knew everything about everybody.
Okay.
Why did you want to do that?
When you are trying to persuade a member that he should vote the way he didn't want to vote, which is part of your job, which is a great part of your job on a controversial issue,
Yeah.
it is possible to suggest that perhaps it would be not in his interest if people knew.
We'll blackmail you. We're going to blackmail you. That's pretty much what it. So basically, they regularly use blackmail, right? So Tory whips regularly use blackmail, okay? But what type of blackmail, right? We'll listen to this. Remember, Operation Big Dog is going on right now to keep Boris Johnson in place. That's why I'm showing you the responsibility of a whip and how whips get down and how they use personal information to keep other MPs in line. Well, what type of personal information? This is all going to lead back to the Sue Gray report. Listen to this.
It might be debt. It might be scandal involving small boys, or any kind of scandal which a member seemed likely to be mixed up in. They'd come and ask if we could help. And if we could, we did.
Right. Did you hear that? Right? Did you hear that? Right? So whatever an MP was possibly mixed up in, right, they'd come to the chief whip for help. And whatever that might be, financial affairs, listen again, because it's not me saying it. Listen to the chief whip, Tim Fortescue. Listen.
With any sense who was in trouble would come to the whips and tell them the truth and say, no, I'm in a jam. Can you help? It might be debt. It might be scandal involving small boys, or any kind of scandal which a member seemed likely to be mixed up in. They'd come and ask if we could help. And if we could, we did.
And if we could, we did. Right? So that means circumventing the law for child sex offenders. Okay? Now, that struck me as odd, yeah, 30 years ago when I heard it, right? Struck me as odd then. Let's get back to those dates, okay? I'm going to round this up now. We've got the 15th of May, the 27th of November, the 10th of December, and the 15th of December. Those 4 dates, the police say they're not going to investigate. But if we go down to 15, right, listen to what Sue Gray says about it. In respect of the gatherings that the Metropolitan Police has assessed as not reaching the threshold for criminal investigation, they have not requested any limitations be placed on the description of those events. However, I have decided not to publish factual accounts in relation to those 4 events. I do not feel that I am able to do so without detriment to the overall balance of the findings. So she's found some stuff on one of those 4 events, one of these 4 occasions, that is so incendiary. She's not even going to tell us about it. Even though nothing criminal happened, she's not even going to tell us who was there. I think she alluded to it on the 15th of May, though. On the 15th of May, she said, right, on the 15th of May, a photograph showing a number of groups in the garden of number 10. Now, that strikes me as odd. Groups of whom? Because from this point on, she says staff, private secretary, prime minister's birthday, special advisor, Christmas break, Christmas quiz, prime minister's secretary's office. Like, she's meticulous. Christmas break, number 10 private secretaries. So she was only ambivalent and ambiguous about one thing: groups in the garden on the 15th of May 2020. What groups in the garden? So I suppose we might as well do a little bit of research. Google what was going down on the 15th of May, right? Number 10. Let's find out what was going on the 15th of May, number 10. Oh, Boris Johnson joined number 10 pizza party during May 2020 lockdown, says sources. A pizza party.
I am the king and will not be. I am the king and will not.